look down and handcuffed to both sides of the bed. I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on here?
This podcast has not been generated by AI. No better way to step in episode 5 than by having James on the show. James' determined and caring spirit lights every path that he walks. He had to learn to survive from an early age, navigating the most unstable of foundations. He wore masks like armor, blended like a chameleon, and rode the lightning just to get a buzz. Fortunately, every hero has their moment, and I would say this is the greatest comeback story I've heard, and one that I'm proud to share. I will be offering my reflections at the end of the podcast, but until then, sit back and enjoy the heroic journey of James. James, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Absolute pleasure. So whereabouts did you grow up?
So I'm from a place called Liverpool in England.
Cool. What's that like?
It's been a few years since I've been there, but it's nice. We won the Capital of Culture a while back, and we have like a bit of a stigma that we're rough and ready, but it's a very, very friendly place.
Mm-hmm. What was it like growing up there?
Yeah, it was good. It was one of them childhoods, the community and people playing football in the street and knocking on each other's houses to come play out. So yeah, it was nice.
Beautiful. Did you grow up with many siblings?
So I've got 2 brothers. I grew up in the same house as one, and the other one lived just outside Liverpool, but we seen him occasionally, we've all got different dads.
Great. And what was that childhood experience like with your brother in Liverpool?
It all started off pretty good. The ideal upbringing to begin with. We had a nice big house. We had 2 cars. We had lots of holidays, lots of love in the house, family meals around the table. Yeah, it was an ideal upbringing to begin with.
To begin with, what do you mean?
Well, it all changed in the blink of an eye. I'll always remember the day everything changed for me. I was taken to the shop by my dad, and I'll always remember we were going for penguin flipper dippers. You know penguins, the chocolate bar?
Yeah.
I think it's similar to, I think you call them Tim Tams or something maybe. But they had this limited edition, and it's like this tub, and you have these little biscuit dippers, and you put it into the chocolate. Oh, they were so good. And I always remember my dad's like, I'm going to take you to the shop for some flipper dippers. I was like, oh, fucking yes. Best day ever. I could feel a bit of tension in his voice. I was only a kid, but, we pick up on signs like that, don't we? And yeah, he just turned around halfway through the journey and said, I got something to tell you, son. I was like, what's that? So I'm not your biological father. It's like, whoa, okay. Wasn't expecting that. And, I've got, my full name is his name. His first name is my middle name. Then obviously we had the same surname. And he's on my birth certificate. Turns out he raised me from around 1 year old. My biological father had a completely secret double life, apparently. He was a taxi driver, and he used to tell my mum he was going to go and work the night, but then apparently he was with his other family. So, yeah, they broke up. Well, she decided she wasn't having that anymore. And then my dad took over from one, and they thought it was a good idea to tell me that he was my real dad. I got me flipper dippers in the end, which is good, but I just remember that day, like it was yesterday, and I'll always remember that day. I smiled and was like, it's okay, thank you. He said, I'll always love you the same as your brother, though. I was like, that's okay, I'm okay. Just eat me flipper dippers. But yeah, that was it. Like, it was a big moment, you know, where I just thought, so it was my life just been a lie up to now. And then, yeah, we went back to normal for a bit. And then they started arguing a lot. So when I look back on reflection, I think, did they tell me that preemptively because they were on the rocks, you know? And a lot of arguing started then. A lot of arguing. And then eventually they divorced. He he was the breadwinner, you know. He was making all the money. My mum had a lot of trauma. A lot. She had a terrible, terrible childhood. And she she wasn't working, you know. She was like the beautiful side piece. And I felt that dynamic growing up, you know, that he was well educated and he was better than her and he deserved more respect because he was bringing the money in and she just had to sit and look pretty and shut up. You know, that was the vibe that I got. Um, but yeah, we quickly lost everything. Everything. The house, the cars, the holidays. We went from having everything to nothing overnight. And then that's when it all started to go sideways. My mum was trying to fill that hole, you know, no pun intended. You know, she was with lots of different men. They were coming back. I've got ADHD, by the way, so if I say a few things like that, that's just me. Bringing lots of different men back and progressively getting worse with substances and alcohol, trying to fill that gap. And just went from being a great mum to a not so great mum. And the domestic violence started then. The emotional neglect started then. I recently got my foster care records back. And it said on there, you know, like, that we were taken because of extreme domestic violence and severe, emotional neglect. So it was a tough time. So a lot of stuff no child should ever have to see. And things that I'll always remember, you know. Lots of arguing, lots of screaming, lots of shouting, lots of physical assaults, knives getting pulled out the drawer, things getting thrown all over the place. You know, it was almost every single morning. You know, I'd wake up to a door slamming and I just knew what was happening straight away, shouting. They'd be on alcohol, coke binges, and I'd have to run down and protect my mum, you know. It's human instinct, isn't it? You look after your mum. But at the same time, I've got my younger brother who's asleep in bed and he's crying, and I've got to try protect my mum, protect him, and very stressful. I remember I used to get so much adrenaline that I would be physically sick, like I would vomit, and that would go on for hours. Oftentimes the police would get called. Sometimes, if I was lucky, they'd settle it, you know. And when I'd finally get into bed, it was time to get up for school. It got to that point where I had to start getting myself up for school because I knew how important school was. I had to get my brother up for school, and every night I'd be awake till all hours. Sometimes I wouldn't sleep, and it'd be time to go to school, you know. And yeah, I really struggled to concentrate, as you would if you haven't slept. So I never really did very well academically. But yeah, it was a very graphic childhood, in and out of domestic violence, women's shelters, lots of memories. You know, we'd get picked up by a taxi and he would chase the taxi driver and try to fight the taxi driver, and it's just complete carnage. And my mum never really had any support, you know. So yeah, we went from having everything perfect on paper to just completely the flip side of it. And then we had social services kind of sniffing around. You know, they were getting wind of what was happening because of the hospital visits and stuff like that. And yeah, it's difficult, man. It was difficult.
What did you think of this guy who was with your mum?
Um, he was making a lot of money, so obviously she saw financial safety in him, and there was like a very obviously toxic relationship, and you know, in reflection, she grew up in that environment, so it's natural for her to gravitate towards that. We can only love how we've been shown how to love, right? Until we figure it out on our own. So yeah, I'd go in sometimes and they'd just be counting hundreds and hundreds of thousands in cash. It was normal. We had to move so much. We had to move house so much. Like every couple of months we'd be in a new house. We'd have to try and settle in, make new friends around that area. Never, ever, ever any. So we went from extreme stability to absolutely no stability or safety at all.
Would they explain why you're moving so much, or was it just like pack your bags, we're going?
I got I got turned into an adult pretty early, so I knew a lot of the stuff. You know, he was wanted by different people, and you know there was an instance where his family home was shot at. Um, yeah, just bad people have a lot of enemies, you know, so it was a safety thing. Um, but yeah, it was difficult, man. You know, and some of that stuff still like affects me now. Doesn't hold me back or anything, but you know, when I'm obviously I travel a lot. So when I'm packing my stuff in a suitcase, I still get that feeling, you know.
And I mean, as you just said, it's like the polarity from that incredibly stable home and environment to one of the most unstable environments a child could be in. Did you have any kind of outside support, anybody you could connect with?
I was kind of raised to not speak to the social services, you know. We gotta play by the rules if we want to stay with me mum, kind of thing. But I had a couple of teachers in my secondary school who really helped me. They didn't know the severity of what was going on, but obviously the social services have spoke to the school. They know a little bit. I always remember my PE teacher and my drama teacher, Miss Horrocks and Mr. Lamb. They were amazing. Like I'll never ever forget them. You know, they gave me that support that I needed when I had nobody else to receive it from.
Wow, incredible. And so you had your brother with you the whole time?
Yeah, so I had my brother and we'd have like visits to see my dad, well, his dad, every couple of weeks. But I always remember I didn't want to go stay there because he was more strict. We had bedtimes and stuff, you know. With my mum, she just kind of let us do whatever we wanted. Um, but yeah, the next big thing that happened was eventually the domestic violence got so bad that the guy had pushed her through like a patio window. And we went in at the time. Um, there's, yeah, we went in at the time. I picked my brother up, went back to the house, and I used to always get him from school and take him to school. Otherwise, he wouldn't go. You know, I used to shout at my mum how important it was for him to go to school. But yeah, we went back and there's police there. There's ambulance everywhere. There's police tape. You can already see that the window is smashed. And yeah, the police said, "Are you James and Connor?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "We're gonna take you to the hospital. Your mum's had an accident." And then we got there and she was in intensive care. She had all the machines. You know, it turns out a piece of glass had went into her lung, so she had to have like an emergency operation. And then they said, you know, we're gonna take you to your nan's house. Just on that subject, because I did read my care records recently. I didn't know, but apparently the guy who did it tried to come and get me from school after he'd done it, which was a weird, eerie thing. Why would he want to come and get me from school after he's done that to me mum? But yeah, said they're gonna take us to my nan's. Now, you gotta remember, that's a very extreme, toxic family. So taking us to my nan's might as well just be taking us to the same environment. But we were happy with kids. We don't know. They're trying to help us, you know? We just know family's everything. So we go there, and then there's an argument there, which, you know, of course there's an argument there. And we end up getting kicked out. Me and my brother. We're not welcome to stay there. So we were kind of just on the street. And the only place I knew at that time was that man who pushed my mum through the window. I only knew his mum's address. So it was like, we will just stay there. Otherwise, we're going to be on the street tonight. The police got wind of it, social services got wind of it. And then we came and got picked up and taken into foster care. Just like, bang. So the people that were supposed to look after us after that didn't. And yeah, we got taken into foster care with a company called Bernardo's. And yeah, that's where the kind of the next chapter started for me.
Well, what's that experience like to actually go into foster care?
I can't even put it into words. You know, you don't know how long you're going to be there. You don't know. You hear horror stories about care homes, you know. You don't know what area it's going to be in. You don't know if you're going to have any friends around there. You don't know how long. At the time as well, you don't even know if you're going to see your mum again. You just want things to be normal. Well, not that they ever were, but you just want, you just want what you think is normal, you know.
At that stage, we're talking normal from that context. It's like, was normal so far away from what you remembered? What was the new normal to you?
Good question. Normal was just being around your family, whether they're fucked up or not. Just being around your family. And looking back, it was not normal at all. It was extremely dysfunctional, extremely violent. My family were always fighting with each other. They were always pulling knives out on each other. So it was just constant chaos, you know. So eventually we got taken from that, and after about a week of being in foster care, me and my brother, my dad came back on the scene, and we were thinking, well, I was thinking, wow, don't have to stay in this fucking care home anymore. We've got nothing to do, got no friends around here. And he told him to get his stuff. I assumed I was getting my stuff and going, and he said, you're not coming with us. You're going to stay here. We've got a cat in the new house. And I just thought back to that moment where he said, I'll always love you the same as I love your little brother. And also, my brother was the last little ray of light I had there, you know. We're going through all this, but at least I've got him. This one last thing left. And he just packed his stuff up and they went. And they went to normality, you know. He started a new family, nice big house. And I just got cut off. And I always remember, you know, that was the moment where I realised, like, I really do not have anyone in this world. I've only got me from now on. I can only rely on me. And that's something that really follows you into adulthood. And it affects so many areas of your life. But yeah, foster care was mixed emotions looking back, you know. A lot of people think, you know, you got saved, but when you spent years in an environment like I had, it's too little too late. But also in hindsight, it did really impact my life. being able to see what normal families are like, how normal families operate and interact, and the things they do. Going to sleep, knowing I'm not going to get woke up to violence or have to try and jump in front of my mum to not get beat up. So yeah, it was too little too late, but I could slowly start to rebuild a sense of safety and stability. And then foster care was just getting moved from one home. You get settled, bump to the next one. So it's just like a recurring theme. Nothing's safe. Nothing is stable. Yeah, I just remember a lot of things from care. A lot of new traumas were added. You know, we would have supervised contact with my mum, which means, well, what it says on the tin. You get to see each other, but there's people there watching you, analysing you with clipboards, and you just want to spend time with your mum, you know. And she would turn up drunk. We wouldn't be allowed to see her that week. And look, I don't hold anything against my mum. She's my best friend. Doing the work I've done now, I completely understand the whole situation. Could she have done a better job? Yes. Do I hold anything against her? Absolutely not. She took full accountability. But we'll go more into that a little bit later on. One of the care homes I was living in, they had their own kids as well. So you still get treated differently to them, especially on Christmas. And they're opening all their presents, and you're just getting like a selection box. And I always remember getting told off for eating too much food. And she said, you know, we don't get paid enough for you to do that. So a lot of the carers see it as a business, right? You know, you're a commodity. You know, you're like a little Tamagotchi. You know, if we can get our income for them high and our output of cash low, we make more profits on him, this little human. And if you felt it, you really felt that. Then when you leave care, you're supposed to get an exit interview. You're supposed to have an interview, and they're supposed to tell you, you know, this is how to be an adult. Oftentimes they will get you a place to stay, whether it's like a halfway house or, you know, just somewhere to rest your head. And they teach you how to kind of integrate into the real world. Now, my carer at the time, she said, we don't mind you staying, just pay us keep, like rent. So I was like, that's amazing, you know, I'll do that. And then I always remember she sat me down and was like, we've just been offered more money for a brother and sister. Obviously double bubble, they get double the price. So I got kicked out then. I never got that exit interview. I was more or less homeless, for want of a better word. And then I decided, you know, to try and kind of get back in touch with my mum. And I always remember at the time, it was didn't really have anywhere to go, and a couple of my friends from school decided to rent a place together, and they had a spare bedroom. When I say spare bedroom, fuck me, man, it was like a little Harry Potter cupboard. There's no window in there, but they just said, give us all a little bit of money each week. I was like, fuck it, that's the best I can do. So I did that. And yeah, I'll always remember the day I finally reconnected with my mum, and I will never forget her. I was walking through the city centre. Now we have a train station called Lime Street Station. It's like the big train station of Liverpool. And I was just walking past. Now there's loads of homeless people and drug addicts and alcoholics who sit on these steps. And I always remember just seeing out the corner of my eye that my mum was there with them, drinking Frosty Jacks. Don't know if you've heard of that. It's like the cheap piss cider. And yeah, oh, sorry, White Lightning or something it was called. And yeah, that was a big moment for me, you know, seeing my mum like that. And I always remember I tried to get her a hotel. I wanted to help her. And they all said no, you know, we don't take homeless people. And she asked me for money. I said, the last thing I'm giving you is money. I'll pay for electricity, gas, food, but I'm not giving you money because I know exactly where that money is going to go. And yeah, slowly started to kind of rebuild that relationship with my mum, although she was struggling a lot at the time. And yeah.
What was her reaction when she saw you?
She was fucked, you know? She was fucked. Don't know what she was on. Don't know what she'd taken. She wasn't with her. But her sister ended up looking after her. From what I remember, you know, I ended up taking her to her sister's and she gave her somewhere to stay for the night. And I didn't like fully dive back into that relationship, you know. I had a lot of stuff I had to do. And I just got a job as a door-to-door salesman, selling loft insulation, commission only. So it was like, you either sell or you don't eat. Okay. I got really good at that. I got really good at sales. And yeah, it was just a lot of transitions, you know, a lot of transitions. And it was difficult for me to rebuild that relationship with my mum while she was in that state.
What was your state of mind at this stage? So you've finished high school, you've left the foster care system, you're now employed. Like, what was your state of mind like then after all those that you've experienced?
I just got to make as much money as I can. That'll keep me safe. That was it. That's all I cared about. Making money. That's all I can do. And that'll keep me safe. Because I know everything can change overnight. If I've got as much money as possible, I'll always be safe. That was my state of mind at that point. So then my mum ended up getting with another guy who's like an alcoholic as well. And they had their own place just outside of Liverpool. And I ended up working in a bar after door-to-door sales of all places. Like I had already fucked my family up enough. People kept asking me behind the bar, do you know anybody for a certain drug? I was like, I heard it so much, and my little entrepreneur brain, who didn't care about the consequences, became that guy, and I started selling a particular drug and making a lot of money, you know, which is what I always wanted. And I mean, I was making a killing, and then I decided to step into that role of, you know, looking after my mum, making sure she is okay. And then eventually, I'll always remember the day, because she was waking up drinking from the morning. She was working on roofs with this guy, rooftops. She'd wake up and drink vodka and then be getting on roofs. And I always remember the day I walked in and I literally wrapped her hair in my hand and just pulled it out of the house. And just said to the guy, like, that you're not seeing her anymore. and I put it in my car. And we were driving past the high street, seeing all of the alcoholics, you know, who were out early in the morning waiting for the boozers to open up. And I just said to her, like, look at these people. This is what you're going to become if you don't sort it out. And then she went into like rehab to get sober. And at the same time, my brother had been kicked out by his dad. And obviously I was there for him. I went and picked him up. Now I've got my mum back, I've got my brother back. And I decided to stop selling. But by this point I was so addicted to it. And I mean, I would wake up, I'd be sniffing. I'd be in the gym, sniffing. I'd be going to family functions, not my family. We didn't have family functions. I'd go to family functions of like my girlfriend at the time. I'd just be high on cocaine constantly. And then I'd be smoking weed to try and come down from that. And that'd be my whole day. Sniff, smoke, sniff, smoke, sniff, smoke. In the end, you're paying hundreds of pounds just to feel normal, but not normal. Normal, but dissociated, you know? And I was very, 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 very addicted to that. Any drug that I could get my hand on, really.
Wow. And so what were the years, to put into a timeline, of separation between you and your brother, and then this everybody reuniting at this stage? And how old were you?
Do you know what? The ages and the dates, I can't put a definite answer on them, but I would say early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah, early 20s is when we all kind of came back to each other.
Yeah.
But all fucked up in our own way, you know?
All come from your own journeys.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. And yeah, it was just nice to have everyone back together. You know, we didn't have anything again, obviously, because I ended up sniffing all of my profit, you know, so all the money that I did make from that, I lost it. I was a scaffolder at that point. I got into scaffolding. But yeah, we made it work. We all lived in a little tiny 2-bedroom flat. We made it work. We got by.
Wow. Do you remember how long you were living together for?
No.
Yeah.
A couple of years.
And what happened after that?
I ended up moving to Manchester. I'd found this is a part of the story that's worth talking about. I ended up getting with a girl from my school when I was around 13, 14. She was kind of with me the whole journey. She come from a very normal, for want of a better word, family. They really helped me, you know. That was like apart from everything that I've got going on, I could go over there and have food and watch TV and be normal. But yeah, I completely messed that relationship up. You know, I used to cheat a lot. I had this feeling of like, fuck the world. You know, I had a chip on my shoulder. Everything I've been through, I don't care about anybody. I've only got me, like I said. And I pushed her away a lot. Wasn't very nice to her. And when we were 23, we broke up and I ended up getting straight with this other girl in Manchester, and I moved to Manchester for a bit. And things started to change a little bit then. I ended up getting a job in recruitment. And that was like a little step up for me, like from being a scaffolder, drug dealer, bartender to like a nice, steady office job. And I had to lie. I had to lie because you weren't allowed to work there without a degree. So I had to make up some porkies. And an old friend really helped me out. I won't say the name, but they spoke to the company, and they were well established, and they were like, yeah, he was one of the smartest students I've ever had. He just didn't go to university. You know, he had a bit of a hard time at home, but you know, he's definitely you should employ him, and they did. And I excelled pretty quick in recruitment. So yeah, I started getting a bit more stability in my life, more normality. I still had my drug addiction on. You know, I'd be smoking joints before work. I'd be getting home just sniffing a bunch, rinse and repeat. And because I was quite good at what I was doing, I was allowed to. They give me a lot of leeway, so I'd be like just going to the gym for a few hours in between working. People would be moaning, saying like, "Why does he get to do that?" And then they'd just put into the, to the sales board. They'd be like, "Because you're not the top, you can do what he wants, basically." But I felt a lot of tension in that workplace. And when I went to London, I won an award for the business, which I wasn't expecting. You know, like the new recruiter of the year in technology. And because I was like really rough around the edges, you know, and nobody else was really like that in the office. It was a huge office, and it was just a lot of just no personalities like mine in there, you know. I was like this little scruffy scouser but he's fucking killing it with the gift of the gab. But I've come to learn that I was just wearing a mask, you know. That was my thing that I had to do. I had to learn that early. You know, if I am who I really am, that's not safe. So I'm gonna mold for whoever I'm around. I'm gonna wear masks for whoever I'm around. That'll keep me safe. I'd go to interviews and I would just look in the eyes for an hour straight and talk to them because it was just a mask. I'd be on the call speaking to CTOs, CEOs, no problem. Like just masking up, you know, and that's how I moved through life. Then that relationship ended. All my relationships were just toxic. The first one was toxic because of me, but she tried to be there for me. She tried to help me. I was very emotionally manipulative without realizing it. I wasn't a good boyfriend. I didn't know how to love, like I said before. How can you love when you've never really felt love or been taught how to love? I was taught love is arguing, love is, you know, getting one up on each other. And, well, like, you did that, so I'm doing that. Like, yeah, I was never taught how to do any of that. When that relationship ended, I got asked to go on a TV show. And yeah, it was a big show in England. It was called The Circle. And then I went to live in this apartment for 1 month. It was filmed 24/7. And that was, I came off the show and all of a sudden I'm famous.
And what was the context of the show?
It's quite ironic. It's like a social media show. Imagine Big Brother. Have you ever watched Big Brother?
Yeah.
So you got to like stay popular and, you know, be slightly manipulative. And the twist is with this show, you don't live together. You're all in the same apartment block, but you never get to see them physically. So you can be whoever you want. You can talk through the TVs. So I'll be like, "Hey, Circle, send Taylor a message. You have a profile photo, you have a name, an age, and a bio. You can pretend to be someone else if you want." So I pretended to be a single mum. Obviously, my family was full of single mums, so that's what I knew best. And yeah, it was just about being conniving and manipulative, and I got pretty good at that, you know. I became very manipulative from an early age. I had to get what I want. in the foster care, you know, like if people are going on holidays with the school and I don't get to go, like turn the tears on and say, why don't I get to go just because I'm in foster care? It's not fair. The next thing, they'd be booking flights. I'd be getting laptops and stuff, you know. But yeah, like I said, I came out of the show, and all of a sudden, fuck, get my phone back. I've got like 60,000 followers. I'm verified. My DMs are just going ping, 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 ping. Every time I'm scrolling, it's like another one on me. We follow. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. I go out for a night out after the show. Everyone's stopping for photographs. I'm like, fucking hell! Finally getting all this validation. This is mad. My ego is like, my head's huge. Everyone loves me all of a sudden. Something I've been wanting my whole life. You know, getting all this attention, and yeah, it was just a crazy moment for me. You have this perception that you go on TV and you make lots of money. Well, I did anyway. You know, you watch people come off these shows, and the next thing they're like these influencers making all this cash and all these cars, and I thought that was gonna happen to me, and it fucking didn't. It doesn't work like that. You realize a lot of these people are going on these shows are fucking fabricating their life after it. Some people do make it, but it's not. It's not. It's not as easy as people think, especially when you don't know who you are. You're lost. Behind closed doors, you're absolutely addicted to numbing yourself and escaping. I don't know how I got on the show. Actually, I do, because the psychologist asking me questions and I just completely lied throughout the whole process. You know, have you got any traumas? No, none at all. Probably didn't think I did that back then, but a lot of questions like, does your childhood still affect you now? I was like, oh, absolutely not. You know, learn from it, made me a better person. But in the same respect, they probably see me and was like, he's gonna be perfect for this. He's got so much trauma. We're gonna get a good show out of him. But they painted me as like the villain on this show.
Okay.
Yeah, the single mom. You know, this guy's manipulative. He's doing something that's not, what's the word? You know, there's no morals in what he's doing. Pretends to be a single mom when he's not a single mom. I went on it because I was raised by a single mom. My cousin was a single mom. My auntie, like, they didn't show that I'd went on it for that. They had in their mind, this is going to be our villain. And yeah, it was heavily edited, very heavily edited. They would ask you a question to something. So I'd be like, do you like Taylor? I'd be like, yeah, I think Taylor's amazing. It does this one thing and it's annoying. And they'd take out and they would just put, he's annoying. You know, like constant, everything was just heavily edited. So I had a lot of people that hated me. I also had a lot of people that loved me when I came off that show. And yeah, man, it's just affected my ego so much. I used to play it off. This is funny. I'll share this. I'll be vulnerable with you about this. So I used to I used to like purposely go out to get noticed. Oh yeah, I used to purposely go out to get noticed. It made me feel something, you know. Like I'll go to the city centre and I'll just be walking around like, you know, like, please notice me. And yeah, I would. And this on the outside, I've got this amazing life. I've got all these followers, and I'm playing the game. You know, I'm putting up all these fancy restaurants, and I'm putting, you know, fabricating this lifestyle online. Everyone thinks it's fucking perfect. I got back with my girlfriend, my first girlfriend, just before the TV show.
Wow.
So, you know, he's got everything, but on the inside, I didn't know who I was. I just felt so lost. So I was like, everyone loves this mask that I'm wearing. But behind closed doors, man, I'm completely self-destructing. completely ruining my life, locking myself in, going on coke binges, and then the next day I'm like putting stories up like everything's normal and I'm happy. Yeah, it was a fucking bad time, very bad time. And then, slowly all the attention starts to fade. You only get your 5 minutes of fame, right? I wasn't prepared for that. To me, I'm being abandoned again. Made things 10 times worse. The girlfriend that I got back with left me again because obviously, who wants to be with a man like that? Um, and then my ego wouldn't let me go back to work. I felt like I had this reputation I had to uphold now. This famous guy. Obviously, I'm not famous, but I got made to feel like I was. And I made a stupid decision, man. Stupid decision. I ended up doing. A lot of people were telling me about this platform where you can sell topless pictures. And I decided to set up an OnlyFans account. And I went from having no money. You gotta bear in mind that I was making good money in recruitment, but I was a drug addict. So I had nothing to show for it. Now I'm still a drug addict, but now I've got OnlyFans money. That's a lot of fucking money to spend on drugs, man. And I did just that. Yeah, I was just making a lot of fucking money, taking a lot of fucking drugs. And it was a cycle, Make content for that platform, get the money in your bank, spend the money on drugs, go off the scene for a few days with a come down, come back, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Paying for like nice hotels, paying for fucking hookers constantly. Like my addictions just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I would be, it was just that was my life at that point. Pretend everything's fine on the outside. I'm happy. I've got lots of money. Then inside, I'm escaping, numbing, doing whatever I can to not feel any pain. Because I'm carrying all this stuff around from my childhood, right? I'm not ready to face that.
So then, was something like OnlyFans, were you receiving the validations or was it just a means to an end?
I was desperate, bro. I was so desperate. I didn't want to go back to work because my ego wouldn't let me.
Sure.
Everyone will think you failed if you go back to work. In hindsight, what a ridiculous thing to think. And I was getting validation again that I dropped off from the 5 minutes of fame. I was getting all that validation coming back. People saying all these things about me, obviously sexual things about me, but still things about me. That's what I need. I need that energy. I need to feel alive. And then man, I was just in an absolute hole. And at one point, I was trying to be like a PT, and that didn't work out. And then I ended up sleeping in a gym. I was sleeping in a gym for like a couple of weeks, and I ended up doing delivery driving for food places. And I remember I was so ashamed that somebody would see me, and the fall off, from being on TV to having absolutely nothing. I used to wear like a COVID mask and put my hood up. And I always remember I've delivered food to somebody who I knew. And I was just like, what? And there's no disrespect to anybody that does that, because it's an income. But because I had my ego, it was running my life at the time, like, it was bad, man. And after the breakup, I moved back in with my mum. almost 30 years old now, wanting to just give up. Like literally was just ready to give up. Stop doing OF and stuff. And yeah, I just was having like, I've never really shared this publicly, but I was having like a fixation of killing that man that caused all that pain. So much so that I was like driving around with a knife looking for him. Because I was ready to give up, I wanted to take him with me first. And then I saw something about, I was watching videos about Thailand and I was just thinking, why can't my life be like that? And then I decided, if I don't try and make something happen, I'm not going to be here, or I'm going to be in jail, or I'm going to be dead from drugs. It's 3 options. That's how it works. That's how it works when you've had a childhood like mine. You become a statistic, don't you? I've done research on this, on the likelihood and stuff, and it's high, man. You know, not many people make it through. It's either dead, jail, homeless. So yeah, I left. Borrowed some money from my mum. Took a one-way flight to Thailand. Didn't even have any way of getting back. Started doing that OF again because that was the only way I could make money online, you know. I thought at the time. I didn't value myself. Didn't have any self-worth. And yeah, just fucking got all my trauma and was like, here you go, put that in the suitcase. Let's go to Thailand. You know, like that was gonna fix everything for me. Same shit, different country. And that was the next chapter for me. Yeah.
Did you, landing in Thailand, did you feel that because it is a fresh chapter that you could leave the past behind?
Yeah, I thought so. You know, because you're changing the environment. A lot of people have this stigma that you need to change the environment to heal. I've worked with many people who have healed in the environment that they're in. You know, so I think that's bullshit. Changing your environment to heal works in certain instances if you're in an abusive relationship. But if you're just getting triggered by old wounds in an environment, then do you need to leave the environment? You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it could just be another distraction.
Exactly, bro. So it wasn't just a distraction for me. I wasn't in an abusive, toxic environment. I was just getting triggered by old wounds because I'm living with my mum at that time. And I'm seeing old faces and I'm living in the same area as somebody that's caused all this damage. But I'm not necessarily in a traumatic environment, you know? So I think it's very different. And yeah, man, I realised Thailand do new different drugs that I've not tried before. Once again, the money's coming in because I'm fucking selling my soul online. Just making one wrong choice after one wrong choice. Doing the game on Instagram, you know, look at the villas. I'd stay in a villa for one night and act like I live there. Look at this amazing beach that I'm on. You know, I'm going to the beach after I've just cried in bed for 6 hours because I hate my life. Look at me on the beach. This is fucking amazing. Wish you were all here, guys. Just desperate for love, you know. Met a local Thai girl. I was just desperate for love. Like, that's all I ever wanted, man. Just to have real love because I didn't know how to give it to myself. Went on this big venture of rescuing street dogs. You know, anything but face my pain. You know, anything but love myself. I'll get love from you. I'll save dogs. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll not give anything for myself. The only thing I'll give to myself is fucking drugs and alcohol. And yeah, I ended up waking up one morning. So I went through this. I used to go through girlfriends' phones because I was so insecure. You know, anyone that's ever loved me has left me. That's what in my mind. So I'm going through girls' phones to get that confirmation that I'm right. They are going to leave me. I'm not good enough. And yeah, she was messaging these other dudes. So that confirmed I'm not good enough. That confirmed she's going to leave me. And that night, I went out and was like, I'm going to get fucked up tonight. I had a mission, you know. I used to black out all the time, but I was like, I'm going to really fucking black out tonight. And I just woke up and didn't know where I was. Just looked up, it was like a white ceiling. Looked down, it's like 6 police officers, Thai officers. I looked down, I'm handcuffed to both sides of the bed. I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on here? They've got like not like a straitjacket, but they've like taped me up to this bed. Yeah. So I'm full on restrained on my head and everything. I'm just like, what the hell is going on? It was like a nightmare. And then they just said in this Thai accent, you go prison. And I was like, oh my God, what's happened? Have I killed somebody? What have I done? What is going on? Eventually, you know, and I'm still like half. Am I dreaming here? You know, coming out. I got my hospital bill. They injected me with ketamine, midazolam, diaz. Like they just subdued me because I was like a wild animal. And eventually, they take me to the jail, not prison, a holding cell, and they show me what I've done, all this damage that I've caused, and you know you can see scars. You've seen them, haven't you? Scars head to toe, stitches. Um, Apparently I'd got glass and was like cutting myself, saying, you know, kill me. Went crazy. Then they sat me down after a day of being in that cell. They sat me down and was like, look, you are going to prison, but there's a way we can fix this. Pay for all the damages that you've caused, and we'll forget about it. I want to say on this subject, by the way, I've been arrested in a lot of different countries. The way they treated me, hats off to them. I cannot believe how well they treated me. They could have done so much damage to me for what I'd done. You know, they could have done the worst to me and got away with it because of the way I was acting. They give me nothing but love. They knew I was a troubled person. They knew that wasn't really me, you know. The next day they were like, this is a different person. How is that the same person on these videos? I've showed you the picture, haven't I? Just head to toe and scars, all the blood's everywhere, and they're lifting me up like that onto the hospital bed. So then they give me an amount I have to pay. I don't have that. You know, I'm a fucking drug addict, remember? I don't have that sort of money lying around. And I just sit there and think, who can I actually ask? I've cut everyone off. I don't have anybody. My mum doesn't have money like this. So grateful that I had my younger brother. He had a stable job. I called him up. Imagine having that phone call with your brother who's 5 years younger than you, supposed to look up to you. Can you bail me out? I'm going to go to prison if you don't. He's got no choice. Sent it in an instant. Didn't make any fuss. I got bailed out. Now, you might think that that was going to stop me. Drinking. Did it fuck? Did it fuck? Pass me a fucking bottle of rum, please. Let me forget about this now. Let me go harder on the drugs. Yeah. Just absolute carnage, mate. Then I met another chick in Thailand. She lived in Australia. And we hit it off like a house on fire. You always do, don't you? When you're like that, you'll be anything anyone wants you to be. You know, they're like, I love apples. You'd be like, apples are my favorite. Yeah. You know, I love water. Oh my God, I drink water every day. We're like the best match ever. It's not a manipulative thing. It's just the desire to be loved, to be accepted, to be wanted by someone. And then we wonder when 6 months down the relationship, you're like, I completely lost myself. Like, because you were never yourself to fucking begin with. You didn't even know who yourself was. So I met this girl, 2 weeks together. It's like a complete, it's not just me. We're both like heavily into this, like this, both love bombing each other, both like literally saying I love you, you know. Come and move to Australia. Yeah, I'll be there. I'm coming. Anything to be loved. Moved there. So I gone from Thailand. I went home for a couple of weeks to see my mum. Flew to Australia. Everything's amazing. I remember thinking, oh my God, yes. Everything I've been to has brought me here. I am so happy. I cannot be happier right now. And I think, I'll have a little drink to celebrate. Fast forward, that same night, I go back to the house on my own. She's not even there, this girl I've met, she's in work. Smashed the house up top to bottom. Everything. And caused so much damage. So much damage, got arrested the second night. Now I know why, you know, my nervous system's not used to happiness, it's not used to peace. I have a deep-rooted belief I don't deserve to be happy. So I spent 6 months in that relationship trying to prove to her that I'm not a complete maniac, and I completely lost myself. Now, the end of that relationship, that's when something happened to me. Where I was like, can't keep happening. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep outsourcing so much of myself and losing myself in every relationship and I need to learn how to love myself. Let me try it. Let me try this healing thing that people keep talking about. So I moved back to Thailand. And I had to go off the rails a little bit, you know. I've got a video there. I thought I had evil in me. When I'm in the airport, I'm talking to the cameras like, I'm going to go to Thailand and I'm finally going to heal. I'm going to get rid of this evil that's inside of me. I'm going to do it. It didn't happen straight away. You know, I had to get back on the hardcore drugs and all the women attention. You know, I had to get that out of my system first. But then I tried to find different ways of doing this now. You know, therapy, tried that. Sound healing, tried that. Retreats, tried it. Was trying everything. But nothing was really speaking to me until I picked up a book by a man called Vex King. And that's when everything changed for me, brother. Everything changed. I read the first chapter and he talks about being in women's shelters with his mum and his younger sibling, seeing blood and glass everywhere, how it made him feel. I'm like, this resembles a lot of my stuff here. Straight away I've got a connection with this guy. Then he starts talking about self-love. Then he starts talking about healing. Then he starts talking about triggers. Then he's talking about everything that I need to hear, but it's come from somebody that is using a language I understand. This guy's from London. You know, he's not trying to be all highly intellectual or spiritual. He's just using normal language. I'm like, fuck, this makes sense. Oh my God, this makes sense too. I think I need to stop drinking. I'm just numbing out with that. I'm just using it to escape. I'm not having fun. How is this fun? I'm 30 years old. And then something just happened, man. I was sat there on my own in Koh Samui, high off everything, filming myself, and I'm speaking in an American accent like this. I think you've seen the video, 20-minute long video. I don't know what it was, man. Now, people call it God, people call it the universe, people, I don't know what you call it, but something just happened. I, I couldn't even put it into words. Something happened that night, mid video, and I was just like, it was just like, I can't explain, man. Something just came down and spoke to me. I didn't see anything physically, but it was just like I had a chat with something, this higher power. And I'm the least woo woo person, you know, bro, but something happened and I was just like, this is it. This is it. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this night because I've only got a couple of lines left. The drink's all gone. I've got a joint to get to sleep. But after this, I'm done. I really am. I got sober from that day, this year, 21st of the 11th, 2023. Never drank or touched a drug again.
Absolutely incredible, man.
I went on for a bit there, sorry, bro.
That was amazing.
What are we on there? That's not too bad.
It's good. Well, I mean, circling back to the beginning, you said you already could sense the energies around you within the dynamics of your parents, and then going into those environments and becoming, as you talk about, like that hyper vigilance.
Oh yeah.
Of like the surroundings and then navigating your way through that to then foster home, to then you talk about like the masks. Once you got into door-to-door salesman, and then essentially you were getting paid to put on a mask, and you were very good at it. And not only that, like the height of it all, you go onto a reality TV show where you actually pretend to be somebody else.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
So it's kind of like hyper, like it's you put all of this like experience into your life, but then to go through that like period of chaos, to then have your own epiphany, to realize that it's like connecting with you and learning how to love yourself is the only way out.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's been a journey. It's been quite a journey. And I just can't believe how much my life's transformed. Like, I'm literally living a life that I used to journal about. I started journaling as I left Australia. You know, I started learning, journaling my thoughts, but finding that book. And I tell you, the title of the book, Taylor, it's a bit cringy, the title, because of the way society has moved forward with these words. But it's called Good Vibes, Good Life. You think of them words and you'd like, okay. But that book, and then I read Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Smith. And that's all about like emotions and the reactions in your body. And it's really broken down in a specific way. So like when you feel a particular emotion, a lot of the times we feel things in our body, don't we? And we attach a story to it. So her work allowed me to not attach that story. And here's what's physiological. I don't know how to say it. Here's what's actually happening inside my body and why I feel like this. It doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean that. So that was another book. And then I read one by Ryan Holiday called Ego is the Enemy, which I have tattooed on me now. And for anyone watching, I don't believe ego is the enemy. It fucked my life up because of the way I treated it. However, ego is not the enemy. It's just this book had a profound effect on my life, and it allows me to look down at my arm if I do ever get activated and I think, am I acting from a place of truth or ego? So that's why I've got it. However, ego is just trying to protect us. I just never knew that when I was in that dark place.
Well, so it sounds like for you to really step on this path of what you call healing, it's like first, like you found a book that you deeply related to,
Yeah.
almost a first-hand experience,
Yeah.
and then you read another book about the somatics and how your body is responding. So it's kind of like you intellectualize, then you're understanding the body reaction, and then also to the defense mechanisms that the mind has it put in place to protect you.
Yeah.
So it's like these are like incredibly strong foundations
Yeah.
of self-development.
Surely. The way they were articulated, because there's a million books about these things, but they spoke to me. I was reading other books about. I'm not going to diss anyone in their space, but I was just reading books about stuff that I would never. I don't understand this. Why are they saying it like this? Like, I'm being very careful with what I say, but yeah, just language that I didn't resonate with. I'd never heard it before, so how am I going to use that language to help myself heal? You know. Um, and yeah, I think it's important as well, because obviously I got sober after years of drug addiction and alcohol addiction, and I did it like just me, no AA, no mentor, no counselling, just me against me. And I sit. Not recently, about a few months back, I researched what the 12 steps were, and then I realized like I did the 12 steps without knowing what they were. If that makes sense.
For sure.
So I think the 12 steps definitely work, but as long as they are parallel with kind of your life and how you see things. Because somebody that isn't aligned with the way that the 12 steps are articulated, they're going to be like, nah, fuck that. Does that make sense?
Definitely. I mean, this is an incredible contrast, and to do it on your own is phenomenal.
Thank you, bro.
For the people listening, how quickly did you start to see results or changes in your life?
Tremendously quick. Tremendously quick. So quick that I actually started coaching people like 2 months after I got sober. Sorry, this floor. Yeah, because I was seeing results and I wanted to help people, I was like, I'm going to coach people for free because this has completely changed my life. I want other people to feel how powerful this is. And it took me off my journey, you know. I was just pouring my cup out again. And then I realized, like, okay, maybe not coach people right now. Like, you've still got a lot of work to do, mate. I know you want to help people because you've seen the benefits of the work that you're doing, but if you want to get further on your healing journey, you need to stop trying to help people and just focus on what you need to do, which is what I did. So I stopped coaching people.
And what are some of the first reflections back at you from when your life really changed? Like, what were you seeing? What was actually changing in front of your very eyes?
Just little moments, like I used to smash things up a lot when I was angry, you know, like I used to be very spiteful. You know, if somebody hurt me, I'd have to hurt them 10 times worse. Someone said something nasty to me, I had to cut the throat with my words, you know. That's how I grew up. That's what you do. It'd just be little things, like somebody would disrespect me and I'd just be like, okay, I appreciate you saying that. I don't see it like that, but and internally it was like I would be angry still, dysregulated, but I wouldn't act on it. And then I'd just be proud of myself. And I'd be like, okay, so I've implemented that which I've learned. What's the next step to that? It's like real time regulation before you speak, and I would do that the next time. I would just focus on one thing at a time. A lot of people are getting all this awareness from different things, and it's overwhelming, you know. But I'm just getting little pieces of information, and then I'm focusing on that, getting repetitions of that in, And then I'm like, okay, I've got that on smash now. Let me try this next thing. And it just kept building up and building up and building up.
It was beautifully said, because repetitions, when you talk into that, I mean, it's like learning anything in life. It just takes practice, right?
For sure.
So it's like, but also too, for you to be able to recognize and how to self-regulate, particularly with all the life experiences you had up until that point, but then it was happening in the present time. But then you're taking the intel and the data from that experience and not only learning, but then calibrating if need be.
For sure. And I just realized the different cycles that I was stuck in. And then I would meet like a beautiful girl, and there'd be them fireworks at the start. And I would just be like, I was very like, when I started, I was a lot more spiritual than I am now, in the sense of like the universe, you know? Like I would look up at the universe, be like, okay, what are you trying to teach me now? You know? And I still have that sense, but I don't have that word for it right now. But I still, so for instance, a beautiful girl would come in, there'd be fireworks, and then she would like ask me a question of like, oh, hey, so do you wanna, I'm thinking we should go do this for the week. And then old me would be like, yeah, let's do it, anything to be loved. And I'd just be like, nah, I actually don't want to do that right now. I've got other things that I need to do. Just little things like that. Like, you just chose yourself then. How do you feel after that? Okay, now she's angry. How are you really going to get the rep in now? Are you going to fumble and go back? Yeah, sorry I said that. I'll do it. Please love me. Please don't leave me. And just what I wasn't budging, you know. All these survival patterns and all these traits that I developed to keep me safe, that were holding me back. I just started dismantling them one by one. You know, I recognized, I integrated, because a lot of the patterns that we create are to protect us from certain emotions. You know, once I was integrating the emotions and really focusing, okay, I've got a lot of anger, I've got a lot of shame, I've got a lot of guilt, I've got a lot of fear. You know, they're healthy emotions, they're signals. Let me bring them up. Let them sit at the table with me. You know, the good, the signals. You're angry, okay. You don't have to go punch something. You're angry because, you know, you've been disrespected. That is normal. That's valid. You're angry because somebody's got something that you want, and you know you can get it, but you're not doing enough. That's valid. That's normal. Aggression is not okay. Anger is okay. Okay, so you've got fear inside you. Okay, where's that coming from? Okay, how are we going to integrate that? What are we going to do instead? We're going to take one step forward in that direction and realize that it's safe. This, you know what I mean? Like, it was like a snowball. It was literally like a snowball. Just going from there, and then the next thing there. Even now, I said to you, for anyone watching me and Taylor, we hit the gym sometimes together, and I said to you the other day, you know, I look back at videos from like 6 months ago, and I've just grown so much since then as well. And it's just incredible once you go on this journey and you move past just being aware of yourself.
Yeah.
The things that are possible, man. I just wish just more people knew, like, it doesn't matter what you've been through. It does not matter. Like, you can become anyone you want. And even if you've created an identity that you realize is not right for you, like I did with OF, like, I didn't say, oh, that's too late now. I've fired me shot and I just got to stick with this. No, fuck that. You can wake up tomorrow and be somebody completely different. That's the beauty. And once you do the healing work and you leave survival mode, you feel safe enough to do that, you know? And yeah, I'm so passionate about this, man. Like, I just want more people to understand, like, the chapters that are in your book so far, they don't have to dictate the next chapters. You can literally turn the page and start again, man.
That's very beautifully said, man. What do you think holds people back?
Oh, good question. I think fear of change is a big one, because who am I without my scars? Who am I without my pain? I think that's a big one. I think shame. You know, I don't want to ask for help,
Mm.
you know? Shame, what will my friends think of me doing this? You know? I think identity holds a lot of people back as well because they feel so locked in with who they think they are. It all kind of comes under together when you think about it, you know? It all overlaps. But I think the thing that held me back for so long was just I was scared of facing it in case it took me under.
Mm.
So much had happened. If I sit there and I try and deal with all that, is it going to overwhelm me? Is it going to ruin my life? But the trick is to just pull it back slowly. You know, you don't have to go. Is everything all at once? It's like, okay, this can come out. Let's work with that. Okay, this can come out. Let's work with that. You know, and then eventually, as life starts happening, and you do have bad days and bad things happen to you, you've built up the tools where you can just be like, yeah, I'll deal with that now.
Yeah. But isn't it ironic that by not looking at it at all is going to ruin your life?
Yeah, powerful for sure, man. It's, this is the thing, you know, survival mode. It's good at what it does.
Yeah.
It keeps you alive, and that's your brain's only job. It does not care if you're happy. It doesn't give a fuck if you're happy or sad. It doesn't, as long as you're alive. So if you've developed traits over your life that have kept you alive, and it's quite clear that the traits are good because you're still here today. So your brain thinks, let's just keep operating from that system for our whole life. You know, people get on the deathbed and they realize in that moment, like, oh my God, that was none of that was ever me. That was one of my biggest fears. You know, that was one of the catalysts of my change to think like, if not now, it's gonna be never. You know. But yeah, powerful what you said, man.
Well, I mean, your journey is just so powerful within itself because if you didn't, then you would have ended up at one of those statistics.
For sure, man. For sure, and it's something that I think about every day from a place of gratitude, you know. And genuinely, like, I went through everything I went through to help people through. I've got so much lived experience. You know, my emotional capacity that can only be forged. You can't learn about that stuff, man.
No.
You know, people can pretend that they can hold space and be present and feel and sit in that with them, but you need to have gone through that. And I think when you're speaking to people, they know, you know, they feel safe. That was one of the things for me, man. Like, I I always remember with social services, they said, "Oh, I know how you feel." And me being a cheeky kid that I was, like, "Oh yeah, how did that happen to you?" No, no, no. But we learnt about this and how it affect. So you don't know how I feel.
Mm.
Okay, you can't possibly know how I feel. And then I had a conversation with a therapist in Australia, and I said that to him. You know, he described my internal world very. He's the one who told me about the deep down not believing that I deserve to be happy. So I hope therapy is amazing for awareness. But when he was explaining it, I was like, oh, you know, I'm very interested to hear kind of about your story and similar experiences. And he was like, I don't have similar experiences. I just learned about this in education. And instantly I was like, oh, you don't know how I feel because you haven't felt it. So yeah, I think going back to what I said, everything that I've been through has gave me this, I'm not going to say gift, but it's gave me this power to truly help people, man.
Wow. Absolutely incredible story.
Thank you, bro.
Appreciate you sharing. Now, this part of the podcast, stepping into your medicine, what has become your medicine through your journey?
Can you reframe it a little bit?
What has been the point or thing of your journey that you connected to the most that helped you get to where you are?
It's actually changed a little bit because spirituality helped me get sober. There's no doubt about it. Believing in a higher power, that there's something bigger out there than me, and yeah, that really helped me get sober. But then, as time gone on, and I'm at these spiritual retreats and I'm watching these people do these things and talking in the way they're talking, and we're all wearing these funky clothes. I'm like, okay, it just feels a little bit like we're bypassing other things now. So it helped me at that level, but then it's like, what's next? Because the same people are coming back every week, having the same releases. This is a bit repetitive. Not many people are like, I don't need to come here anymore. So what are we actually doing here? And then, as I said, everything's got its place in the journey. Everything was like a little sprinkle of medicine along the way. But then I get to the point where I'm like, okay, that medicine's not working anymore. Therapy was great medicine because I was like, fucking hell, connecting all these dots. I did that because of that and that and that. You go after a while, it's like, okay, this medicine ain't working anymore because I'm still not sober, and then I got the next one. Sad side, yeah, I think shadow work. I said that really loud. Sorry if people got headphones in. Shadow work. Shadow work, man.
Yeah.
Fucking, yeah, that nervous system regulation, identity work. Everything has its place, and the thing that changes people's lives is real life repetition. There's just no way around that. You can have emotional release. We've had this discussion before. You can have emotional release. You can gain insight. You can do that for years, I'll go do a breathwork session, have a good cry. I'll listen to another podcast. I've got more information. But if you're not actively doing the work outside of those sessions, when somebody asks you to do something for them that you don't want to do, and you actually set a boundary and you feel safe doing that, your life's just going to be on repeat with nice sessions in between and more language for the suffering that you're going through. That's my opinion. I think people out there that agree, people that don't agree, and that's the beautiful thing about being humans, right? We've all got different experiences. I can only say what worked for me personally, what my thoughts are, and as you know, I've got a lot of clients right now, and we are getting amazing results doing the RISE method. And the biggest part of that, obviously the shadow work, the identity work, the nervous system work, the biggest part of that is off the calls. You have to get the repetition in. When that moment comes up that activates you, you have a choice. You're going to run the old software that's kept you where you are, or you're going to try that new software that we've been learning. It's going to be uncomfortable as fuck the first time. So, you might have that choice and actively you've got that choice and you'll still go back to the old one. That's okay. But, the second you do that new choice and you realize the world hasn't ended, you try it again, you try it again, you try it again. It's like going to the gym, isn't it? That first fucking squat, you feel like you're going to shit yourself, Give it a few weeks. It's like, shit, let's do split squats.
Incredible. It's, as I said, it's been so powerful to be able to sit here and hear your journey and what you've overcome, but not only with what you've just overcome within yourself, but now what you offer for other people. So for anybody listening who would love to connect a little bit deeper to your work and you personally, how could they go about that?
Thank you for saying that, man. I appreciate it. And before I say, I just want to say how grateful I am to have met you, bro. Like from the bottom of my heart. For anyone watching, I met Taylor in Bali. Um, Bali is one of them places where there's not many genuine people from what I experienced, but you are one of them, man. And we connected that much that he he chased me to Da Nang, didn't you? Now we're both living in Vietnam now. We live pretty close to each other, and yeah, it's a blessing to have a friend like you. I'm very grateful for you, man. In regards to your question, my Instagram is at Rise Above the Journey. That's at Rise Above the Journey. I'm currently working on a book, which I hope to release towards the end of this year. And I have a YouTube channel, which is the same, Rise Above the Journey. It's all about healing and leaving survival mode from a grounded, lived experience perspective. There's no woo-woo stuff in there. It's not too clinical. It's a nice blend for people that relate to the way I speak, my language, for people that have gone down those other routes and it doesn't seem to work. I would highly suggest you watch that. And then in terms of working with people, I do what's called the RISE method, which is recognize, integrate, shift, embody, which is a blend of somatic work, identity work, shadow work, and emotional work. And yeah, we're getting absolutely phenomenal results. And yeah, man, I'm just so grateful to be in this position and to see these people making these transformations and being able to walk that path with them. I feel so proud of myself. And yeah, I just want anyone that's watching to know, like, you can rewrite your story. You really, really can. If you're struggling right now, I'd love to hear from you. And thank you for watching.
Brother, thank you for choosing to do the work on yourself. And thank you for coming on the podcast.
See you later, mate.
What a truly remarkable story. For someone who has worked in drug and alcohol rehabilitation centers and has seen a lot of clients with domestic violence histories, abuse, and drug use, it is heavily stacked against somebody who has grown up in an environment like that to really reform in the way of creating safe, grounding, and secure life. I've seen a lot of people try their absolute best to get to where they really want to go and have come so far from where they begun. But never have I seen and sat with a person like James, who not only had experienced what he experienced, the polarity in ways that seems almost unfathomable, but then learn to actually sit with that shadow, learn and deeply understand why and how his emotional state is what it is. Using that strength and courage to go within, to look at the parts of him that were so unseen and so unserviced, and learn how to give what he needs to himself. This is the definition of healing. This is what it takes to do the work in the most authentic way, because it starts with accountability. That is a thing that shone through with me in the connection I have with James, is the amount of accountability he has for himself and his stories, and also his past. The way he owns every part of his past as a teaching, a lesson, and also to seeing it with knowing that that was then and this is now, creating a separation one can only really receive once those wounds have become scars and one has actually taken the time to heal them properly. It's beautiful to see how far somebody can come. And as James mentioned on the podcast, it really doesn't matter where you came from, you can change. There is a few key ingredients when it comes to actually making a significant change in one's life, as James shared. But it is incredibly possible. James is living proof of that fact. It was beautiful to sit with James, hear the story, and understand and try and imagine what it would be like and how that would actually feel to be in that situation. There was a lot of lessons that have been learned and mistakes that have been made. I think we can all relate to that. But to be able to reflect, accept, and move on in a healthy, grounded, and honest way is the thing that really stood out to me the most. I believe that everybody does have a story, some very different to others, but it is about what one can find within. And whatever that is, find strength, hope, courage, wisdom, love, compassion. A lot of the things that we actually require, the things that we haven't learned to yet give ourselves, and the things that we look out for outside of ourselves. And notice in James's story, the moment that he stopped looking outside of himself is when things really changed. Really looking for inside for the answers. Looking at how he's going to solve it. And knowing that if he isn't the one to step up and make that choice for himself, then nothing's going to change. So it was a real honor to sit with James today and for him to share his story. I feel grateful to have met James before this podcast and after, because I believe that he is a signal of hope, and he's a living proof and testament to the work that can be done. He's helping so many people on their own journeys, using the method that he's created from that lived experience, that first-hand knowing, and also the natural wisdom that he carries. I think that if one can use a point of reference, use James. Use James and see the strength that I see and the determination. Because it takes a lot of strength to sit with that discomfort and to face your shadow. But as he said, doing it bit by bit is a healthy and sustainable way for one's own personal growth. So I give thanks to James for his time and for his story and for his lived experience, which he's now calibrated into helping, guiding, and supporting others. So there you have it, a powerful story of true self-actualization. James has dedicated his life to helping others and offers his wisdom and knowledge to people all around the world. If you would like to connect, head to @riseabovethejourney or riseabovethejourney.com. Also, if you'd like to stay connected, head over to @plum_planes_collective. And to see all that I offer in the way of support, head to www.plumplanes.com. We have some new podcast videos out on YouTube, so be sure to check those out too. My name is Taylor Jardine, and this has been Your Story, Your Medicine. Appreciate you taking the time to listen.